It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra.
Wrestling Observer Extra.
The moment you've all been waiting for. The undisputed, most diabolical villain in the world.
With Dave Meltzer, right here on The Law. Live audio wrestling.
You got it. He is back, and we're happy to have him to San Jose, California to start the Hour 2 of The Law. Dave Meltzer, welcome back to the show.
How you doing?
Doing very well, Dave, and we sat through a pay-per-view tonight, of course, as did you. Great Balls of Fire. We've been sharing our thoughts on it all night long. Overview, Dave, what'd you think?
Well, I thought that it was an average show all the way through, and then it really depends on what you thought of the angle after the Roman Reigns-Strowman match. I mean, if you like that kind of angle, then it was a good show because they went as far as you could go with that angle. It was crazy. And if you don't like that kind of an angle, then you probably didn't like the show. And, I think that, I guess my main criticism of the show would be that the show was sold and built completely around Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar. Yeah. And when the show was over, it was an afterthought, and you felt like you really didn't get it. I mean, I wish that they would have ended the thing with the Strowman match and put the Joe match in the middle and not felt like it was just so damn rushed.
That's a very good point, Dave. And I tell you, we just had a conversation on the show about the freshness of a couple programs, and the main one being the Joe and Lesnar match. It's something that we've never seen. We were both stoked for it. We've talked to you about it. I would have loved to have seen it on a WrestleMania. And tonight, here's a fresh match that was an afterthought for a stunt.
Yeah, and the finish. You know what I mean? It was like I was really hoping for a finish where... I mean, Joe did look, they let Joe look pretty good in the match, but I was hoping for a finish that would lead to a rematch, and when this thing was over, it's like you really didn't, he beat him. It was the F5, and it's kind of like that was it, and it felt like Joe was, Randy Orton, you know what I mean? I mean, which is fine. I mean, Randy Orton's a big star and all, but nobody's clamoring to see Brock Lesnar against Randy Orton right now.
And you think that it'll continue on from this, Dave? Because they were excited because Joe and Lesnar seemed to catch on more than they thought. Like I think they probably thought this should be a one and done kind of program. But do you think it moves forward now after this?
It felt like one and done to me. I'll try to find out. But when I saw the finish, it's like. It wouldn't, if you were going to do it again, I mean, you could have like something where they're both knocked out and they're in a grueling match and Brock gets his arm over him, or it's some sort of a weird finish. But when you do the F5, it's kind of like, okay,
that's it.
When you bring, it's like you don't really have a reason to bring it back.
Well, and the fact that it only took one F5 too.
That's another one too. Yeah.
Right. That I was surprised that they went with only one F5. Usually they'd have to do at least a couple.
Yeah.
So in regards to SummerSlam and the main event there, what do you see the plan being at this point?
Well, the last I heard, it was Lesnar and Roman Reigns. That was the last I heard. That was also several weeks ago. So I don't know. They certainly put Roman Reigns in a situation where you're not thinking about Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at all. You're thinking about something, with Roman Reigns and Strowman.
Mm-hmm. Or a potential legal battle for an attempted murder case. Like one of the two.
Yeah,
I know.
Dave, how do you feel about the way they did treat Roman tonight? I mean, to me, that was a bona fide, heel move, almost basically trying to kill the guy. Or does it just not matter with Reigns if he's heel or babyface?
Well, people boo him anyway.
Yeah.
So it could if you could turn him heel. I mean, you could do that.
I mean, we've said that for months, right? We've talked about turning him heel, right?
I mean, in the sense that people have been booing him for going on 3 years now.
Right.
But they've been against it all along. I don't think that it's a heel turn, but I mean, it could be. We'll know on TV tomorrow. I mean, he has gotten edgier and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one thing is go turn him heel. Maybe people will cheer him like Naito. I think because I always thought that if they turn him heel, it's going to end up like Naito, which I thought is the reason that you should have turned him heel like 2.5 years ago.
Right. The one other question too I have coming out of the ambulance match, Dave, is that to me was very much an Attitude Era kind of angle, where they love to blow up cars and run people over and stuff. Has there been any thought to doing more of that just because of all the problems with ratings and stuff as of late?
I could see that. I think that they're probably looking at ways to shake things up, and stuff like that usually does work. But if you, I don't know, too much. The thing on this is like if Braun Strowman is on TV tomorrow and it's not like there's no repercussions of this, then I'm going to not think that it was such a great idea.
Right, of course.
But if this is part of a storyline in some form where Strowman is out for another 6 weeks or something and then has to come back, well, then he's a babyface, isn't he?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I mean, it did feel like it did feel like he was a babyface when that thing was over.
Well, sure, the way he just kind of stumbled off on his own, I don't want any help, and just kind of stumbled off alone,
Yeah.
Another fresh match that I was pretty pleased with watching tonight was Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. Now, I believe that the program for SummerSlam was going to be the Alexa and Nia program, but after seeing tonight, it doesn't look like these two are done. Do we know what's happening with the women's title?
I don't know. If I was going to guess, and I could be dead wrong on this one, is that they will do a rematch on TV tomorrow and then move on, or they could go to SummerSlam and do some sort of a rematch coming off it, and save Nia for later. I mean, there's no rush, so I mean, they could go either. They could do one of those two things.
Yeah, I much preferred this over Nia, but that's just Nia.
Well, I would too. I mean, it's a lot better match.
And I thought
by a big margin.
And just Sasha and Alexa seemed to actually work well together. I thought they
had a nice match. I hated the finish, but they had a nice match.
Yeah, the finish was terrible. Yeah, just the count out.
Few things outside of tonight's pay-per-view, Dave. Few surprises this week. Number one, coming on Friday night at Madison Square Gardens, AJ Styles has won the U.S. title at a house show. Is this just a matter of, hey, go to the house show because you never know what's going to happen, or is this a matter of an injury with Kevin Owens?
As far as I can tell, there's no injury. And Kevin Owens worked last night, and I think he's working tonight. So I think on Tuesday we'll probably have a better idea of what it really is, but it feels to me like it was just the thing of, hey, let's just change the title at a house show. I kind of wish it wasn't at the Garden, though, even though because it's kind of like if you're trying to tell people that, like, if I go to my show in Windsor, Ontario, or somewhere, like a medium-sized city, that I can see a title change because they changed it at the Garden, I don't think people are going to think that. But if you did it in Amarillo, Texas, or Corpus Christi, Texas, people everywhere will go, well, they changed the title in Corpus Christi, so I guess it could happen anywhere.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it was just because it was MSG and they wanted something special on it.
It could be. I mean, they really tried to load up that show.
Yeah.
I mean, they had, again, normally you got your Raw brand, your SmackDown brand. They had two SmackDown
That's right.
Matches on that show and try to really load it up, I guess, for whatever reason, because it was... and it didn't sell that well. It was the lowest crowd at the Garden in several years.
Wow, interesting. The other interesting story this week too, Dave, Austin Aries, done with the WWE. Have you got any kind of insights into this? WWE has basically said, we're done with him and that's it. Have you heard anything about what happened here?
I mean, I don't know the specifics, but I do know that he was really unhappy and he wanted to be out of the cruiserweight division, and I know he was unhappy about his match with Neville being not at WrestleMania, not putting on the WrestleMania DVD.
Right.
So, and maybe he just complained, and maybe they don't want complainers. There were a lot of people who, he definitely had heat there because he's an outspoken person.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's got the confidence to know that he's really good, and so. Sometimes, like, if you're a top guy there and you have that swagger about you, it's fine. But when you're not a top guy there and you have it, it rubs people the wrong way. But it's people like that's the kind of people who can get over.
Yeah.
But they didn't put him in a position to get over. I mean, like, he was, if you remember, he was doing a great job as a color guy.
Yes.
On the show.
Yes.
They transitioned him to a wrestler, and he was really over doing that. And then when he came back, I was sure he was going to beat Neville and win the championship because he felt like he was really hot. Then he gets, he loses every match to Neville except for the one DQ thing. And when it was over, it's kind of like, well, he ran. He was, the booking got him a lot less over than he was before, and that can be real frustrating when you're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out and where he ends up, because someone like him, I'm sure, TNA or ROH, he could work New Japan probably if he wanted to.
Yeah, he has to wait a couple of months, but he'll be free and clear in a couple of months where he could go anywhere he wants. I could see TNA or GFW, as they're calling it now, taking him. He's got a history there. He was a star there, and when he left, he left during the old regime.
Yes, that's right.
And it was when the money situation was really, really bad. And now the money situation isn't bad, and it's a new regime. So I could definitely see him going there.
Yeah.
Flipping over to MMA, Hey, it was UFC Fight Week this week. And I got to tell you, Dave, considering what's happened in the past years, this was the most understated UFC Fight Week that I can remember.
Man, I know, no kidding. It felt like there was like it was, you know, I mean the show last night was, you know, just like it really was the original idea for the show. Well, let's face it, the original idea was GSP and Bisping.
Right.
I mean, this was supposed to be the show of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it ended up not being the show of the year, and then one person after another dropped out, so you ended up with, you know, a lackluster show. But, I mean, having said that, over the weekend, they did have their match of the year on Friday night.
Yes, that match was outstanding.
Yeah, so you had that, and then the main event, you know, the Yoel Romero and Whitaker match. I mean, that was a really good match,
It was
too.
good, yep.
But, yeah, for a July pay-per-view show, you know, there were some bad matches on that main card, and overall, but I mean, as far as like, the talk and everything like that, it was kind of depressing in a lot of ways. And then the main event, you know, so many main events falling out. You know, it's just, you know,
Can we talk a little bit about the Amanda Nunes thing, because it sounds like she says it was sinusitis, but some of Dana's comments I thought were really harsh here, like, oh, you don't get your purse, I'll never main event you again, like.
Yeah, you know, the thing is I remember a year ago when he said he would never trust John Jones in the main event.
Of course.
And John Jones' next match back after another year suspension is a main event. So I remember when he said he would never main event Anderson Silva again. So it's like I don't really. He may not main event Amanda Nunes again because, you know, Amanda Nunes probably shouldn't main event, honestly. She's not that big of a draw, at least on a pay-per-view. She could main event on a TV show easily. But, you know, he'll get over that. But, you know, I think that the feeling that in his mind is that he's probably had guys fight in worse condition than that. I'm sure I'm sure they have, but she just didn't want to do it. But, you know, she was all dizzy and having trouble with her balance the day before. And I'm not so sure if I'm walking around having trouble with my balance.
Yeah.
I really want to get into a championship fist fight the next day. So I can see where she's coming from. And ultimately, she's got to. If she's not feeling good, you know, she probably shouldn't be fighting, and they're going to do the fight in 2 months anyway, so it all works out.
Right,
it does indeed. Just another main event there, and they so desperately need them. But they do have one coming up, and that'll be Jones and Cormier, and we'll be talking about that, but mainly this week. I guess we're just going to be talking about Mayweather and McGregor. Consider they're going on a publicity tour this week.
Yeah.
Tour starts tomorrow, right?
Well, so what? So people are buying tickets to just see these two jaw jacket each other?
Well, they're not buying tickets. The tickets are free. But,
okay.
But still, I mean, like in the middle of the afternoon in Los Angeles, they're going to have 16,000 people, and they're going to have a sold-out Barclays Center in the middle of the afternoon on a Tuesday. And they moved the Toronto thing to a larger building because of how quick the tickets sold the first 2 nights. So, yeah, it's going to be an amazing situation as far as, you know, it's still 15,000 people watching you cut promos. And, you know, that I kind of like that atmosphere. It reminds me of the old Crockett arena tapings.
Right.
Well, we look forward to following it along this week. And what's up in the Observer, Dave?
Just a coverage of all of these shows and whatever news happens in the next couple of days. And, you know, more on Austin Aries and some, you know, European news and trying to think what else. Just, you know, ratings news and New Japan news and just... you know, New Japan announcing news, that's crazy. That's gotten crazier by the day.
Yeah, for sure. I just quickly, too, Dave, wanted to obviously offer our condolences on the passing of your father. I thought what you wrote in the newsletter this week was incredibly heartfelt and, like, just obviously was a very special man. And I actually really enjoyed reading that piece about him.
Oh, thanks, because I didn't know if the piece was appropriate, but I wrote it anyway.
Yeah, well, hey, you got to do what you got to do, Dave. And I thought it was, you know, people like myself that have been reading you for 20+ years, it was very insightful and very heartfelt and emotional.
Yeah, well, it was hard to write, and it was you know, a terrible couple of weeks.
Sure,
unfortunately.
absolutely.
And I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back on the show. It feels like normal finally.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to have you, Dave.
Absolutely.
And look forward to chatting with you again next week at this very same time.
Okay, have a great week.
You too. Dave Meltzer, WrestlingObserver.com is where you can find all his fine work and hear him here each and every week on The Law.